Welcome to week 6 with Mrs. Bibb for Algebra 1 Honors. This week we're going to be solving absolute value compound inequalities. So make sure you fill in your table of contents, do your warm-up for the week, reach out if you need any help. I'll be glad to help you. Please write this down somewhere on your paper. You need to know what conjunction to use, whether you have an and or an or. It's not evident when you look at the problem what your conjunction is. When you have a less than or equal to symbol, that's an and. When you have greater than or equal to, that's an or. One thing that I use, one memory device I try to use, is I try to say great or than. So if you have greater than or equal to, it's an or. If you have less than or equal to, it's an and. So that's one way you might be able to remember which symbol goes with which conjunction. Looking at number 1, what conjunction do I have? Do I have an and or an or problem? And it does matter because we're going to write our problems differently based on what type of problem I have. This is a less than symbol, so I have an and problem. I'm going to put what's inside the absolute value, y plus 2. Since it's an and problem, I'm going to surround it with less than symbols. And then I'm going to put positive 8 on the right and negative 8 on the left. I do want to point out that in order to do this step here, your absolute value has to be alone, just like when we were doing equations. So if this had not been alone, I would get it alone first, and then I would do the rest of the problem. Now I'm going to solve. I'm going to have negative 10 is less than y, which is less than 6. I'm going to go by 2's again. Both of these are just less than symbols, so I'm going to put open circles. Then remember, this is an and, so my shading should look like a line segment. Or remember, you can go the long way. If you were to graph-wise less than 6, also graph-wise greater than negative 10, the intersection of those two graphs would be between negative 10 and 6. Final answer should be written in interval notation. Whereas my number lines start being shaded red, it starts at negative 10 with an open circle, and it stops at 6 with an open circle. Moving on to number 2. I have a greater than symbol, so that means my conjunction is or. You do write down the word or. You take what's inside the absolute value, make it greater than positive 2, then take what's inside the absolute value, make it less than negative 2, and solve both of those. How do I get rid of dividing by 3? Multiply both sides by 3. So Q would be greater than 6, or multiply by 3. Q would be less than negative 6. I'm going to put open circles because they're not equal to. Or, remember, you shade in opposite directions. And then interval notation, whereas my number lines start being shaded, it starts at negative infinity. Where's it stop? Negative 6 for a moment. Union picks up again at 6, and it's open, and it goes to infinity. So there's my answer to question 2. Looking at question 3, don't decide your conjunction yet because my absolute value is not alone, so my maneuvering to get it alone may actually make me flip this inequality over. So don't decide until you get your absolute value alone. I did not have to flip it over, so this is an AND problem. Remember, to do an AND, you're going to take what's inside the absolute value, put less than symbols, or less than or equal to, since that's what this is. Put positive 9 on the right, because that's where it would go on a number line. Put negative 9 on the left, and then solve. Solid circle on -7, solid circle on 2. This is an AND, so it's the intersection of those two, which would be here. Interval notation, where does my pencil number line start being a red pen? It starts at -7 with a closed circle. Where does it stop? It stops at 2 with a closed circle. Number 4, my absolute value is alone, and this one is a less than symbol, so it's an AND. Hopefully you got that correct. Let's do the same thing for number 5. And my conjunction is less than, so this is an AND problem. Will you please try that on your own? I solved. I graphed on the number line. It's an AND conjunction, so I shade in the middle, and it started being shaded at -7, and it stopped at 1. Both of these are open, so I have parentheses.